Most creators want to go viral, but they just don't know how. So today I'm going to show you exactly how I script and create 100,000 view reels consistently. If you don't know me, my name is Chris. I grew 100,000 followers in 5 weeks. And with this format that I'm currently doing, I regularly pass 100,000 views. You can see this one right here, 133,000 views. The one I posted just 12 hours ago already has 62,000 views. Another 102,000 views right here. And then the one I'm breaking down for you today is this one right here with 98, so basically 100,000 views. So before I do that, I'm just gonna play it for you real quick so you can watch.
It took me 7 months to learn 3 lines that forces people into a trance, but you can't do it every single time, otherwise it won't work. The 4 times I did it added over 10,000 followers. So the reason it works this well is because it has to be said back to back, but most people only say the first. So the first line, as you already figured, is the hook. You already know this, so I'm just gonna skip it and get right to the good stuff. But right after the hook, you need to say a primer. It's a short line that instantly doubles your viewer's curiosity. An example is, I was told not to share this, so please don't abuse this. But the third line is the key. It's the super hook, and it needs to give the viewer a reason to watch. If you want a real example of all 3 lines, just rewatch this video.
So that is the video. What I'm gonna do now is to break down for you line by line exactly how I scripted and designed it to get 100,000 views. The first thing I want you to know is the end of each line. If you connect the end of each line together with a line, you'll see that it draws this jagged line. Medium line, medium, shorter, long, shorter, medium, long, medium, medium. And that is how I design pace and rhythm. If the end of your script, like if you connect the end lines and it draws a straight line, kind of how like the start of each line right here, that is how you're gonna sound flat. So even if you don't have rhythm, make sure your script draws a jagged line. That's the first thing to know. Second thing, let's get right into the hook. The purpose of the hook is only to create curiosity. Once we have curiosity, the viewer will stop. Without it, it doesn't matter what type of hook it is, they will go. The purpose of the hook is only to create curiosity. So how can we do that? We use specificity. So you can see right here, I say it took me 7 months. That is key. I could easily have said, recently I learned. Recently I learned is so, but 7 months, it took me 7 months. That's specific. And it just makes for a much better story. It took me 7 months to learn 3 lines. So 3 lines, I'm saying that it is simple, right? Something that you instantly subconsciously like, okay, 3 lines is something that you can handle as well. And that's what I'm trying to convey. It's like 7 months, 3 lines, it's simple. That forces people into a trance. That is the key word. I could have used any other word, but I chose the word force. Because what I'm trying to create in your head, your thought is like, you can do that? You can force people into a trance? Now you're curious, right? You're thinking, how is this possible? Can I do this? What are those 3 lines? Can I use it on my friends? Can I use it on people that I know? You have to understand the viewer that is scrolling, they're not there to learn. They're just scrolling to be entertained. So when you capture their attention right there and then with like a line like that, it just stops their scroll. So they're like, okay, now I'm invested. And the purpose of each line is only ever to get the viewer to the next. People always make this amateur mistake of saying like, you say a hook and then they jump to a line that should be way further down in the script, but they should have only focus on getting the viewer to the second line. If you just focus on getting the viewer to the second line, if you do that effectively, they'll be at the end of your video. So you can see right here, that's my hook. It forces people in their trance. Now you're hooked. Second line right here is the primer. And that's basically what I talked about in this video, right? I say, but you can't do it every time. Otherwise it won't work. Now that doubles your curiosity, right? It's like when your friends tell you that, hey, I need to tell you a secret, but promise me you won't tell anyone. You're like, ooh, now it's juicy. Now I'm locked in. What do you have to share, right? So that's exactly what I'm trying to create. You can see, but you can't do it every time. Otherwise it won't work. It also makes it more realistic because it's like, the most powerful stuff, you can't use it every single time. Even with like in games, when you're playing a game and like there's a superpower, they force you to wait, right? There's like a cooldown period. You can't just keep smashing the superpower button and getting the same results. Otherwise the game isn't fun, right? So to make it more realistic, I say you can't do it every time. Otherwise it won't work. And then I go into the super hook, which is the purpose of the super hook is to give the viewer a reason. You're watching 10 million videos on your reels, especially if it's educational based. As creators, we need to give the viewer a reason to watch. That's why a super hook is all you always want to use one as your second or third line. If you're not using a primer, then you want to use a super hook right off the bat to give the viewer a reason to watch. So I'll show you exactly what I said and also visually what it did. So let me just play the hook again for you again.
It took me 7 months to learn 3 lines that forces people into a trance, but you can't do it every single time, otherwise it won't work. The 4 times I did it added over 10,000 followers.
Okay, so you see I say added over 10,000 followers. Not only did I say that, but I also show you the visual proof behind me, saying like, hey, there's actually, not only is actually 10,000 followers, I probably messed it up there. I didn't do the math yet. I actually added 21,000 followers when I did all of these together. So now you're fully locked in. You're committed. You know that. I've hooked you in. I've doubled your curiosity. And I've given you proof as to like why you should listen to me. And then I go right into my first transition, which is the context window. And I love to use but and so. If you watch what's it called, South Park, that is how they script all of their videos. They use but and so as transitions because it creates tension. If I say this morning I woke up and then I made coffee and then I went to work and then I had lunch, that sounds boring. It just sounds like a list. But if I said this morning I woke up, so I went downstairs to make coffee, but I actually ran out of coffee, so I had to run downstairs to buy some. But then the shop said that they were flooding, so they couldn't give me any coffee. So then I have to go to the street across. You see how this increases tension? It's like I take you one side and then I throw you to the other side and increases tension. And that's what we're trying to create here. And so if you go back and you can see, I say, so the reason it works as well is because the lines have to be said back to back. I give context, right? I'll play it for you.
So the reason it works this well is because it has to be said back to back.
So context, and then I shift you to the other side.
But most people only say the first. So
Okay, but most people only say the first. I'm also identifying a mistake, which is like most people. So the viewer would also be looped in as the most people. Only say the first. So it's like a mistake. I identify it, and then I go to the next line. You can see so, but, and then I go with another so again.
the first line, as you already figured, is the hook.
So an MIT lecturer, why I say that is like, I state the obvious to avoid confusion. An MIT lecturer found that as humans, we often confuse similar ideas with one another. So the easiest way to mitigate that confusion is just to state it and say that like, oh, you might think it's this, but it's actually not that. Which is why I state the first time it's like, you probably figured is the hook. And then I go right into the second line right here.
You already know this, so I'm just gonna skip it and get right to the good stuff.
Okay, so that's like a rehook, right? You already know this, so I'm gonna skip it and get right to the good stuff. Because most creators in this content space will tell you that you have to use a hook, you have to use this hook, you have to use that hook. But everyone talks about hook, right? Which is why I'm stating like, you already know this, I'm gonna skip it and get right to the good stuff. It's like, I'm skipping the hook. Every content creator always like talking about like the hook is the main thing for them. But it's like, I'm saying like the hook is not even the main thing. It's like, let me give you the real sauce. Let me get you the good stuff. So that's a rehook just to get you like tuned back in right there. And then I go right into the next line.
But right after the hook, you need to say a primer. It's a short line that instantly doubles your viewer's curiosity.
Okay, so that is why I call it net new value. So net new value is non-obvious and highly tactical insight. Non-obvious being that the viewer has likely never heard, highly tactical where the viewer can use today. That is where real value in 2026 is going to pay off. If you're still using just like, 3 ways to double your views today, or 3 ways to grow a bigger chest, everyone can Google that. I can use AI and get a better answer, which is why you need to use net new value going forward. If your insights isn't net new value, might as well don't make the video. So I go into net new value. I say it's a short line. I say you need to say a primer. So that is obviously a unique mechanism name. It piques your curiosity. You're like, what the hell is a primer? And then I give you the context. I give it to you. It's a short line that instantly doubles your viewer's curiosity. So that's basically I'm stating what I use right there. And then I give you a concrete example. The reason why I need to give you a concrete example is because if I just say like, doubles your viewer's curiosity, and I just go right to the next line, it's too fluffy. It's too broad. And you would just lose viewers dip and they skip your video because it's either confusing, it's unbelievable, or it's boring. It's only one of these 3 reasons. So if it's too confusing, they will skip, which is why I need to give you a concrete example. And then I say,
An example is, I was told not to share this, so please don't abuse this.
Right? So I'll give you a concrete example and you understand, you create this aha moment. It's like, oh, okay, I get how powerful it is, why it works. It's similar to what I said to you just early on. It's like, oh, if a friend told you, it's like, hey, I have a secret to tell you, but don't tell anyone else. You instantly perk up. You're like, okay, I'm ready. Tell me, I'm curious, right? So that's the feeling that we're trying to create with our content. And then I go into a quick rehook.
But the third line is the key. It's the super hook, and it needs to give the viewer a reason to watch.
Okay, you see right here? Rehook right here. Another but the third line is the key. So I'm hinting, basically, everything above previously was good, but without the third line, everything goes out the window. So you definitely need the third line. The third line is the key. And then I say it's the super hook, and it has to give the viewer a reason to watch. So that's another net new value. It's like, because I'm stating that the super hook is crucial.
If you want a real example of all 3 lines, just rewatch this video.
Now that is like one of my favorite ways to end my videos, is using this case in point example where I demonstrate it and I already embedded in the video, but the viewer has likely isn't aware because they're just consuming passively. They haven't thought about it, right? So I go, if you want a real example of all 3 lines, just rewatch the video. And so if they rewatch it, obviously it boosts up the engagement, the watch time, making my video perform even better. But then it also shows how powerful it is because I eat my own cooking. It's like, it's effective. I'm showing you how to do it, so you watch it again, and it's like a self-perpetuating cycle, right? So that's exactly what I do in order to script a 100,000 view video. But this only scratches the surface. If you actually want to grow a 100,000 follower personal brand that gets you leads and clients every single week, you should check out this video. I call it the 100K personal brand plan. I outline all the stages in order to get to 100K and the individual steps in order to get there. So click here and check that out. I'll be doing more of these breakdown videos. Catch you guys next time.